when you say we're very early, like how do you think that through?
Oh, what's the fundamental value of Bitcoin? We could speculate it's hundreds of millions of dollars per coin, billions of dollars per coin over time. It'll take decades or however long to get there. But that's how early we are. So who knows the future? There's one case that says, the percentage gains in fiat terms won't be as high as they were in the early days. Maybe true. But also you've got that risk that sits there of hyperinflation. So the way the monetary system is, the economic system, it's kind of like two massive tectonic plates pushing up against each other. On one hand, you've got deflation, so huge amounts of debt. If that implodes, you've got a massive deflationary force. The other hand, you've got money printing and the kind of imperative that new money be created for this current financial system to keep going. So you kind of got those two tectonic plates pushing up against each other. Hyperinflationary scenario, that's the S-curve that goes parabolic for things like Bitcoin, gold, real estate, stocks, everything that's not commodities, everything that's not nailed down will go to the moon, obviously, in that kind of scenario. Do we get that, or do we get the big deflation event? The forces, those tectonic forces in my analogy, are building. So, and I wouldn't want to speculate which way that ends up going. It's impossible to know. But yeah, it's we may well get the bigger percentage gains in fiat terms, perhaps even bigger than the early days. But either way, I think that the protocol, the Bitcoin protocol, the support around it, the software, the knowledge, and just the sort of systems generally are far more robust and resilient than they were in the early days. So I think that whereas in the early days you'd perhaps be reluctant to put your life savings into Bitcoin, I think there are a lot of people these days who do feel comfortable allocating quite a significant proportion of their savings, their sort of in investable money into the Bitcoin protocol. So the conclusion from all that is perhaps the percentage returns aren't as high, but in terms of the dollar returns, they may well be higher because you're more comfortable putting a greater amount of capital into it.
There's so many metrics I can look at that will tell me that actually we're just right at the very start. There's only a handful of S&P 500 companies that own Bitcoin. Literally, like maybe even 1-2%. It's like, well, okay, that's the engine room of the economic marketplace, and currently Bitcoin isn't in any of them. It's not you or I, retail investors on the street, that are going to really move the needle when it comes to like massive allocation. It's the organizations that actually have big balance sheets.